Hi, everyone. So, here we are. Welcome back, such as it is, to our class for the fall 2020. Um, this is not ideal, obviously, and this is not what everyone, or perhaps anyone, wanted. But this is our reality, and it's my goal to make this as successful of an experience as possible, and hopefully, in some ways, um, even better than if we were able to be face to face. And by that I mean I want to try to create a lot of materials for you that are not just things that seem like I'm trying to make them to make the best of a bad situation, but rather are things that can be used in the future or referenced by you over and over again. Right? These materials that are there for you that you can go back and you can listen to in a way that we wouldn't have done. Obviously face to face. Right? So that's the goal, just overarching for the semester. Um, and hopefully, that becomes clear as we move through the class. That's really what I'm trying to do with you. Um, Aside from obviously, learning about music and doing all the things that we would normally do, kind of face to face. So, um, yeah, welcome. This is our class, Music 102. And normally, right, if this were a class, we'd go over the syllabus and all those sorts of things. Um, I'm going to leave it to you guys to check out the syllabus. It's up on ReggieNet. Check it out. It's there. If you have any questions about it, obviously, please let me know. This class, like I've said in a few emails to you, is going to be largely asynchronous, though it's my goal to provide some synchronous meeting times to you um, over the course of the semester. Right now, that's going to be our normal class times. So Monday and Wednesday, 9 and 10, I'm going to be on Zoom. And if I haven't already, sent out the Zoom info to you when you're listening to this. You'll get it really soon. Um, Feel free to stop in. I'm just going to be there, and if you want to hang out and just talk, or if you want to go over your homework, or do sharing screen, that kind of stuff, we can go over your work and talk about anything from the lectures, class, listening examples, quizzes, whatever. It's time that as long as I can be there, I will be there. And that caveat is there only because of just personal things. Like if my kids daycare schedule changes or kindergarten changes, I might have to move things around. So just a heads up, but I appreciate your flexibility with me on that. And again, really sincerely, I want you to feel like this is interaction with a real human being, because I am really here, really talking right now, and you are where you are, and we can have that connection. So, yeah, today in class we would normally talk about the syllabus, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about just music in general, just to refresh that sort of thing, and then break the video, and then I'll have some other videos I'm going to make just talking through your homework. I'm going to see if this works as a schedule for the class where do like a holistic sort of lecture or series of lectures, and then have little tiny videos where I introduce your work. If that's helpful for you, I'll try to do those throughout the semester. If not, if it's just not particularly helpful, then we won't do that. But I'm gonna try it for this week, and we'll see how that goes. So, yeah. So, what is music, right? You're a music major. I'm sure we talked about this in 101, way back in the before times, in January, which seems like a lifetime ago. Um, Music, right? You're a music major. This is an important thing to you, and it's an important thing to me. What is that? How would you define it? Um, and I'm not here to tell you what your definition needs to be, but I'm here to tell you that you should be thinking about what your definition is. Um, for me, it's any sound or sounds that one perceives to be organized. Okay. Um, I came to that definition after hearing definitions by people that were like organized sound and all that kind of stuff, right? This came to me as a necessary evil, right? That I needed something that actually isn't necessarily what I feel, right? This notice in this definition, there's nothing about emotion. I think music should be emotional. I think music is emotional. I think it should um, elicit some sort of response from a person. I think it almost always does. But the definition can't have that in it, because the definition has to be as flexible as possible. You have to be able to deal with things that are um, artistic, but not necessarily something you enjoy, right? So sounds that one perceives to be organized, right? That I hear an organization in Boulez that you may not, doesn't mean that Boulez is not music. It means that I think it's music and you don't understand the structure, so you may not like it or perceive it to be artistic musical expression. And that's the power of the definition. Again, just be thinking about what that means to you, what it means to define this core tenet of your existence and what you're choosing to study at a college, which is a big deal. Um, and yeah, just make that part of your sort of shower thought sort of mentality for the rest of your life, because I think it's important to be able to express that to people if they ask, right? um, yeah. So here's another question. um, if music exists, what is good music, right? If music is organized sound or sounds that one perceives to be organized, what makes that good? And a broader question is there good music, right? And this is like an existential rabbit hole that you can just go down. Um, I had a breakdown kind of in grad school, um, where I realized I had no idea if music was good or bad anymore. And maybe this will happen to you too. Hopefully, you won't have a sort of a breakdown, but just the realization that the more you study something, right, the more you're going to realize you really don't know what you're doing, and that in itself is a concept called the Dunning Kruger effect. It means that as you learn something really quickly, you're going to think you have it all figured out, and then immediately, once you realize you don't, and you start to get a breadth of knowledge, your understanding, if this axis is understanding, and this is time, uh, your understanding is going to plummet, right? And I'm sure you felt like this, right? Sometime in junior high, playing your instrument, you thought you knew what you were doing, but you obviously did not. And now you realize that, oh my gosh, like this is so hard. This is so hard what we're doing. Um, that thing down here, this is like this valley that you actually really want to find yourself in. It's really great. It means that you have a broad enough understanding of your field that you can speak about it eloquently, but you also understand that like you don't have the answers. And people that are down here and tell you they don't have the answers pretty uh, willingly, those are good. Those are experts. These are people that you want to trust. You want to avoid these people. Those people that seem like they have it all figured out are very rare. This is colloquially called the peak of Mount Stupid, which I think is maybe a little mean, but it's also kind of true. Um, that people that feel like they know what they're talking about, right? Because they've read a Wikipedia article. Those are not experts. The cool thing about the Dunning Kruger curve, though, is that you go up, you get to Mount Stupid, you learn a little more, you go down into this valley, and then you spend most of your life down here, just like trying to figure out what you're doing. And then there is that true transcendent mastery that you come back out of it at the end. These are the people that are generationally talented, incredibly smart, the grandmaster, like people that you see and you go, go to sessions at like conferences and you talk to them and they're just like profoundly good, like the Yo-Yo Ma kind of level person. This is what we aspire to. Most of us are down here somewhere, and that's totally fine. Um, all of that tangent about Dunning Kruger, right, and that uh, discussion of me in grad school, right, is that I don't know if there is good music. I think there are things you can colloquially call good, right? Ah, it's a great piece, right? And I say that all the time. But really, what we mean is music that is interesting and music that is not. And that's actually really an important distinction, right? That there's not good or bad. Don't try to draw judgment there. We could talk about good, bad in a sort of craft level, but good, bad in an aesthetic level, I think, is it's just a it's a direction you don't want to go. It's too sticky. It gets into too many like just people yelling and like the YouTube comments, right? If you go to listen to like a piece on YouTube or something and go read the comments and people are just bickering with each other, it's a bad scene, right? Really, what we're getting at is that there's music that's interesting and music that's not. And more broadly here, right? What we're talking about is music theory, and that's what this class is. Obviously, this class is trying to get you the language where you can talk about whether or not music is interesting or not, and you can do it objectively, intelligently, eloquently as an expert, right? And that's awesome. It's really important. And I like to begin the sessions, our semesters with this kind of uh, broad, holistic understanding of what we're going to try to do, because it's really easy when we go through a music theory class to forget what we're doing. We're going to spend, like, you're going to get homework assignments that are due Friday that are just like so laser focused on a concept, right? Counterpoint, or analyzing, a couple of chords or something like that, right? That is really nothing to do with your career, but it's moving you ever so closely, or ever so slightly closer to that moment where you can speak eloquently and succinctly about the music that you're teaching or writing or working with a client on, or whatever. And that's the point of this class, right? We're trying to build a language to objectify sound, right? You zoom in, we look at this thing, and those are three notes, C sharp, E, and G, right? Well, when you hear them in the key of F, in the context of the key of F, you get this pen's really big, a seven diminished chord, right? And that's a thing that has weight to it, right? It has function. And that's super important, okay? And that's what we're trying to do in this class, to build this thinking part and this listening part. This will come in oral skills, and this will come in theory. Okay, that's this class. Um, Most of the class, we talked about this in 101 when we're talking about Schmertfo. It's sound, harmony, melody, rhythm, timbre, form, and other. Most of this class is going to be devoted to harmony. And this is chords, right? That sort of stuff. Most of this class, in the harmony sense, is going to be chromatic harmony. So in 101, you spent the entire class talking about diatonicism, which means if you're in the key of E flat, there are three flats and there are no accidentals. And that's it, right? That's diatonic harmony. And that's all well and good. And you can write tons of music with just diatonic harmony. But the reality is, music has accidentals, and those accidentals are called chromaticism, which comes from the Greek word chroma, right? Which literally just means color. You're just putting color or ink on the page. You're adding to the sort of black and white aspect of it, right? So really soon, like next week, you're going to have the key of C major and there will be an F sharp. And you're not going to want to panic, right? That's just a chromatic note, and it has function and direction and it has purpose. And we're going to spend a lot of time just talking about why that exists and how that exists. The other big part of this class is here, which is form. And that's just how music is organized in time, the temporality of music, so structures. So this class has this dual function, which is really cool. I think that we're going to spend a ton of time sort of zooming in, right, and looking at just a tiny, tiny little bit of music, right? The bark of the tree, or part of the bark of the tree, which is going to be, a secondary function chord, like a five of five. And that's so minuscule and small and just like abstract in a way. And then the other half of this class, the other part of the duality, is that we're going to zoom out and we're going to look at 7 minutes of music at a time, right? So it's kind of cool in the sense that we get to play both, sort of both aspects of music, right? Or the sort of discussion of music, rather. That we can zoom in and look at the tiny, tiny, minuscule kind of thing. It's like surgical and very precise. And then you step back and say, okay, cool. That surgical moment, right? Beat three of measure two is important because it's signaling that we're beginning a transition that's going to form a modulation, and that modulation is going to form the cadence in the A section of a rounded binary that is part of a composite ternary that is a movement of a piece, right? And that thought process is what we're going to walk through the semester. It's a really fun thought process. I think it's the beginning of where music theory becomes really interesting. Not that what we did in 101 is not, but like you can begin to have really kind of cool subjective discussions about structure and about time and understanding and how we hear music. And I think that's really, really interesting. Cool. So I'm going to break here. And then I'll have another couple of videos where I'm just going to go over your homework with you and chat through some things, do a little bit of listening. You can check those out. Again, if you have any questions, just let me know. Be putting out videos throughout the semester periodically as necessary. And also, if there's ever anything, since this is kind of the first time we're heading through this whole distance learning online thing with a bit of foresight, like we can sort of plan a little bit, unlike in March where it was just kind of a scramble. If there's ever anything that you want me to reiterate, touch on, sort of like iterate on, like just a concept you want more discussion or videos or explanation, um, please let me know because I'm going to make what I feel is appropriate based on my experiences doing this in person. But you haven't had that experience, and you're going through uh, this education experience in a totally different way that is very foreign to me. And I want to make sure that I adapt, the way that I'm discussing this to work for you all. So just please don't be shy. Don't feel like you're going to offend me or bug me or anything like that. I'm happy to do whatever whatever needs to happen to get you guys what you need. Okay, cool. So I'll see you guys around somewhere somehow, um, and just reach out if you have any questions. I'm here for you.